Hi, this is Monique Rhodes. I had a friend ask me a question the other day, and I thought it was such a great question. And his question was this: is there one mindset that helps you live a happier and more aligned life? And what I said to him was this: he's someone who works really hard and he does big plans and he sort of hustles and maps things out. And I said to him, you don't need a 10-year plan. You don't need to map out every move. You don't need to hustle harder to figure it all out. What if all you needed for now was to listen more closely to what makes you come alive? So you don't have to do this in a kind of dramatic way, but in those quiet moments where you lean in a little, where your energy picks up just a notch, where the sense of yes kind of stirs in you. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about optimizing for enthusiasm. So this is not a productivity hack. It's not about chasing highs or avoiding discomfort. It's about learning how to trust the inner flickers of curiosity and interest and delight and seeing them as wise and trustworthy signals. And it's about honoring them. So, I often teach that the path to awakening isn't about striving. It's about staying present with whatever arises, especially those fleeting, subtle whispers of truth that come before the inner critic wakes up. The ones like when you hear someone mention a workshop or a trip or a book, and you think to yourself, wow, that sounds amazing. And then just as quickly, you talk yourself out of it. Or you're doing something simple like you might be rearranging a room, or you might be walking barefoot in the grass, or, writing a poem that you're never going to show anyone. And you feel light, you feel engaged, you feel connected. That's your life force. That's enthusiasm. And most of us are taught to ignore it. And we're conditioned to value what's useful, what's practical, or even what's safe. But enthusiasm, it often seems inconvenient. Maybe it seems unproductive. Maybe it seems a luxury for people who don't have real responsibilities. Here's the thing. Enthusiasm isn't indulgent. It's a compass. It's your system showing you what aligns. It's how your heart says, this way. So in Tibet, there's a phrase that roughly translates to gentle perseverance. It's this idea that you keep showing up to your path, not with force, but with warmth and with interest, a little bit like tending a garden. And enthusiasm is a bit like that. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just glimmers. A little lift in your chest, or a moment where you breathe more. Or maybe you have the thought of, I wonder. And if you follow that thread, it usually leads somewhere surprising, somewhere alive. And that doesn't mean that every enthusiastic choice is easy or glamorous. Sometimes it leads you into the messy, uncertain territory of creativity or starting again even. But even when it's hard, there's something energizing about it. You're not pushing through, you're pulled forward. So let yourself be curious about what draws you, and let that be enough to begin. Start tracking what makes you feel enthusiastic. Not in a spreadsheet, just notice what kind of conversations leave you lit up instead of drained. What projects do you think about when no one's asking anything of you? When do you feel a natural desire to give, to create, to help, or to explore? These aren't random. They're signals, they're invitations. Maybe they're even nudges from something deeper. And if you learn to trust them, they start to form a map, a living, breathing, changing map that guides your next steps, one choice at a time. Of course, some days you're not going to feel enthusiastic about anything. That's okay too. Sometimes you're in a season of depletion or grief or fatigue even. And in those moments, the invitation can be gentler. Like, if you're having a problem with someone, can you do the least harmful thing? Or can you rest in not knowing without shutting down completely? So even here, enthusiasm might show up in a whisper, a tiny pull towards, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to read a poem, or I'm going to have a hot bath, or a text to someone you love. Enthusiasm doesn't demand that you be happy. It just asks you to notice when life wants to move through you and to allow it. So choosing what lights you up, that can feel radical. Because when you follow your enthusiasm, you might veer off the path you expect. You might disappoint people. You might change careers. You might leave relationships. You might shift your priorities. And that's not always easy. But what's the alternative? A life lived according to obligation or fear is a life that is slowly dimming you. And I promise you, the world doesn't need more people who are dimming themselves. The world needs people who are lit from within, who are honest enough to say, this is what makes me feel alive, and I'm willing to build my life around it. That kind of aliveness is contagious. It creates ripple effects in families, in communities, in cultures. It teaches others that they too can move towards what's honest and true and good. So we don't need to fix ourselves. We just need to soften. We just need to stay with what is. We need to meet ourselves with gentleness. And optimizing for enthusiasm is one way to practice that. It's not flashy, won't always make sense to others, but it's simple, it's quietly powerful. So start where you are. Follow the flicker. Say yes to what pulls you toward life. Let that be your path. And trust that it will take you somewhere beautiful. If you like this, subscribe. Love to see more of you. As always, be kind, take care, go gently in the world.